right, guys, we want to make sure we're being conscious of time. We'll go ahead and get started and allow people to kind of trickle in and join us as needed. If you are able, we do always encourage during our live Zoom events to have your video on. If you're not able, we completely understand. It does obviously just help our speakers, feel like they're talking to somebody in this virtual space. So we do appreciate it if you're able to. We are going to be recording as a heads up, so just keep that in mind. Just really quickly, my name is Jen Fleming, and I'm the career advisor for the education, nonprofit, and government career community within the Career Center at DePaul. And so I meet with students individually about everything related to career. So if you haven't taken advantage of our services, please make sure to do so. Check out our website. We have a ton of resources on there. But we're really excited to have Megan today. And I work really closely with Libby. On my screen, she's in the upper left corner, but she might not be located there for you. I'm going to let Libby introduce herself, and then we'll go ahead and introduce Megan, our guest speaker from the Peace Corps today, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everyone. My name is Libby Woodard. I am the Assistant Director of Employer Engagement and Internships here at DePaul at the Career Center. So I oversee the employer relationships and getting students connected to different opportunities through the employer partnerships that we have. So I'm really excited to welcome Megan. Megan is a recruiter in the Chicagoland area. She is also a return volunteer with the Peace Corps. I will let her take it away. And again, just a reminder, this is being recorded, so we'll send it out after. And if you have questions as the event kind of goes on, just shoot them in the chat box, and I will be sure to ask Megan those questions.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you for taking a little bit of time and coming to hear what I have to say about Peace Corps. I'm really hoping that this is a lot of useful information for you. But the most important thing is that all of your questions get answered today. So feel free to write your questions in the chat box. Or if you're more comfortable, you can shoot me an email or save them till after the presentation and we can chat about them. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a little presentation to start off with. And then we'll go to the website where we also have some really useful information that you can kind of take advantage of and browse through on your own. So my name is Megan. I am a Peace Corps recruiter in the Chicagoland area, and I am the Peace Corps recruiter for DePaul. But before I held this position, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the education sector in Ukraine. So I am one of almost 250,000 return volunteers working all over the world in as many sectors as you could imagine. I want to start off with just a couple of minutes of talking about Ukraine and my experience, because that's what really made me want to become a Peace Corps recruiter, because I had such a great experience in my community in Ukraine. And I honestly didn't know a whole lot about it before, so I'd love to share some photos and just some info about it with you. So in the education sector, I was mainly teaching English, but I did have the chance to teach lots of other things and do kind of secondary projects and other projects with my students. My official title was Secondary English Educator, but I did wind up teaching students from age 7 to 17. So I would quite literally in the same day go from finger painting letters and learning the ABCs to practicing vocabulary for college entrance exams with my seniors. So there was a really wide range of what I was able to do in Peace Corps. These two photos on the right side are from my beautiful community. I was in a small village in the western part of the country, and that castle up there, believe it or not, was originally built in the 14th century. So there is a really rich history in the village that I was living in, and I actually got to serve on a village committee and work on some projects to teach other folks about that history. So I wound up learning a ton as well. And then here are my wonderful coworkers. I really got to know them very well. We spent so much time together at school, planning lessons, teaching, and then outside of school as well. Something that was kind of unique about Ukraine, at least in my experience, was that Coworkers do have holiday celebrations together. They have parties, they take trips together. So all of these photos are from one of my favorite weekends of my whole Peace Corps service. It was Teachers Weekend, and we took a trip to the Carpathian Mountains together. You can see that that woman in the red jacket beside me is my counterpart, Oksana. So she was really my absolute closest coworker. Every Peace Corps volunteer gets a counterpart, and they're like the person that helps you transition, learn about the company or organization culture, and really just helps you every step of the way as you're learning about your community and transitioning into your new role. So just last month, Peace Corps celebrated its 60th anniversary. So we've been around for 6 decades, but the one thing that has never changed is our mission, and that's to promote world peace and friendship. I think it's really cool that as technology has changed, as the needs of the globe have changed, our mission has stayed the same at its very core over those 6 decades. So I like to break this down into 2 different categories. The first being capacity building, and that's really what goal 1 is about. So helping the people of interested countries meet their need for trained men and women. So countries that host volunteers, they have requirements, maybe education requirements or experience requirements of volunteers, because the volunteers are going to perform a certain job, complete a task, meet some goals of our host countries. The second 2 goals, so number 2 and 3, fall into the second category of cross-cultural friendship building, relationship building. Number 2 is to promote a better understanding of Americans. I was the very first Peace Corps volunteer in my community. So not only was I representing myself, of course, and Peace Corps, but I also got to share lots of interesting information and celebrate American holidays and share these things with my students and friends and counterparts. And I got to learn a ton about Ukraine by living there as well. So then I got to share that information and complete goal 3 with my friends and family at home. Goal 3 is something that returned volunteers do for the rest of their lives. It's kind of what I did in those first couple of slides. You'll find that after you become a Peace Corps volunteer, you just want to talk about your experience, show photos, share about the information that you've learned. So it's quite easy to complete goal 3. Now, the basic requirements, and you'll see this information on our website as well, is that you must be at least 18 years old and you must be a US citizen. However, it doesn't matter if you were born a US citizen or if you recently received that status. All that matters is that you are a US citizen by the time you're set to depart. Something that really stood out about Peace Corps to me as I was looking into international service and work opportunities was actually the length of service. To be honest, it was the thing that scared me the most at first, because 27 months sounds like a really long time. But I realized that it was necessary, and it was actually the best thing about Peace Corps in my experience. We include 3 months of training. So that's at the very beginning, it happens in your host country. And a lot of it is language training and technical training so that you're able to communicate and do the job that you are there to do. But you'll also learn a lot about the history, culture, and customs of the community that you're being welcomed into. Then you have 2 full years of living and working at your organization. And I felt like those 2 years were so useful and necessary to complete my projects and see them through to a level where they were sustainable. And I felt like I really had developed those friendships because I had that amount of time. Now, I just told you the 2 hard and fast rules that we have, but competitive applicants are going to have a few more things on their resume. Typically, it's a college degree or 5 years of full-time professional working experience. When you apply, you're also going to be asked to submit a resume in the federal format. So if you've never seen that before, that's totally fine. That's where I can come in to help and give you some samples and resume review. If you are well-versed in the federal resume, you're already off to a great start. There are also a couple of other things that you can do to put your best foot forward and become the most competitive applicant you can be. And that includes being flexible about what kind of work you're going to do and where you're going to go, and applying early. So this is really small writing. You don't have to read through all of this. I'm going to show you where you can find it on our website in just a bit. But this is what the skills section of each individual posting is going to look like. Now, I mentioned before that the first goal is capacity building. We're sending trained men and women to host countries to complete specific jobs or meet goals. And the required skills are all of the basics that you're going to need to be one of those trained individuals to be able to meet those goals. So oftentimes it's a bachelor's in any field. Sometimes it's a bachelor's in a more specific field. And then the desired skills are things that are going to put you above and beyond those basic requirements and make you a really competitive applicant. The last section is the language requirement, and you'll see this on every single post. Some do have language requirements and others don't. So if you don't have language skills or you don't feel really comfortable in your language skills right now, that is okay. There are plenty of positions that don't have that requirement. I am going to preface this slide by saying that it is just a bit out of date. This was from early 2020 when we had volunteers serving all over the world. Now, the most frequently asked question I get is definitely about the pandemic and how that has changed volunteering and how it has affected Peace Corps. So in March of last year, we did have to evacuate all volunteers and suspend volunteer activities. And since then, we haven't been able to safely send any volunteers back to their host communities. So this is a complicated situation because we're not only tracking how the pandemic is going in the US, but also in every single country and community, because we want to take care of the safety of the volunteers and host country staff, counterparts, and everyone involved. So right now, Peace Corps does have all of the pandemic information located in one specific place on our website. But I can tell you that we are really hopeful looking forward into the next couple of months and year. And right now, with the way that our application timelines and deadlines work, we are looking forward 6 to 9 months. So the applications that you would be applying for now, even if you were to apply today, they wouldn't be set to depart until at least 6 months into the future. And I know that there's a lot of hope at the agency that we will be back on track around that time. So you know about the basic requirements and where you can serve as a volunteer, but the most important part is what program area concentration you want to be a part of. So these are also referred to as sectors. We have 6 main sectors. Like I said, was in the education sector. That's our largest, and it encompasses English, math, and science education, but we also have some combined sectors, so health education and environment education. Each sector has its own specific requirements, and each project within that has its own specific requirements and desired skills, but there is a lot of collaboration across sectors. So for example, in Ukraine, we had education and youth and development, and they worked very closely. Some of my friends were in the youth and development sector, and we were able to work on secondary projects like gender empowerment camps for young women in Ukraine. So while it wasn't necessarily in the education or youth and development sector, it would be considered a secondary project. So there are these 6 main sectors and lots of opportunities for work and collaboration outside of them in secondary projects. One of my favorite secondary projects that I was able to do had nothing to do with education. It was actually the creation of a tourism app. So like I said, we had a lot of really interesting history and cultural background in my village, and not lots of folks knew about it. So a committee got together. They wanted to create an app to teach visitors and travelers about this really rich history. So I was just one of the translators. I did not do any of the IT or technical work for this, but it was still a really cool project that was completely outside of my normal, typical daily work. So there are lots of benefits to being a Peace Corps volunteer. I say the word volunteer a lot, and sometimes folks think that that means you won't be paid at all, or you might be having to pay out of pocket for your needs. But Peace Corps does provide a living stipend, a housing stipend. They provide transportation to and from your country of service. All of your medical needs are taken care of by Peace Corps doctors. And there are lots of benefits like career building opportunities, conferences, project management opportunities, and things along those lines as well. And then after service, you have some really tangible benefits as well, like about $10,000 that you receive once you complete your 27 months, as well as graduate school benefits, specifically the Coverdell Fellowship, which is really huge. It's partnered with over 100 universities across the US. And then some of the less tangible benefits, like the friendships that you'll maintain for hopefully a lifetime, and just the personal and professional growth that you'll be able to experience after living in a new host community, learning a new language, and really pushing your boundaries. So I mentioned a couple of minutes ago that the application takes about 6 to 12 months, and that sounds like a really long time and a really intense process, but I promise you it is just a long time. It's not an overly difficult process. That includes every single minute from when you apply and submit your application online all the way up until your departure. So there's a lot that's included in that 6 to 12 months. You're going to start off at number 1 by just browsing the openings. Even if you're not looking to apply today or tomorrow or within the next year, I do encourage you to start browsing as soon as you can, because generally from year to year, our positions stay the same or pretty similar. So you might find a position that you're interested in, but you're not going to be available for 2 years. You should still start looking now so that you have a better idea of what qualifications you might need, and what things you can do to become a competitive candidate. You submit your whole application online. So I'll talk in a few moments about the elements of that application, but everything is submitted online. It's become really streamlined in the past couple of years. So it is made quite simple for applicants. You have a health history form that you fill out, which is to determine what countries can medically support all of your needs. So that's done in the very beginning so that by the time that you're invited to interview, you know exactly which country you're being considered for. And the thing that is very unique and I loved about Peace Corps interviews are that you get all of the questions in advance. So a couple of weeks before your interview, you'll be sent an email and you'll have all of the topics that you can prepare for that you're going to talk about in your actual interview. Then you'll get the most exciting email about your invitation to serve as a Peace Corps volunteer. And that's what kicks off your onboarding activities, which is a medical and legal clearance. During the medical clearance, you do go to a couple of doctors and you can get reimbursement for that. And then you have onboarding tasks and finally your departure. So the first step of the application is, like I said, to browse. Just go through the openings that we have. If you're interested in applying soon, you should be able to find some of those active applications online. But if you're interested in applying a couple of months or a couple of years from now, you can still start to browse at any time. You're going to have a motivation statement and a tailored resume to upload as part of your application. Those two things are really important, and they will take a bit more time than the application itself. All of it can be done online, and the application itself takes about 45 minutes. So once you have that resume and your motivation statement ready to go, it's pretty easy to upload those and just submit your entire application. Our Peace Corps resumes look something like this, of course, without all of the comments and notes on the side. But I do have a variety of samples and templates to match just a general application, but also tailored to sector-specific positions. So if you're interested in having resume review or getting one of these templates, I would be more than happy to send them to you. I had one of these from my recruiter when I was applying, and it helped so much. So there are a couple of specific things that we do like to see in a resume. All of that is included within these templates. Your motivation statement is that other document that you upload. That's about a 500-word essay, so not super long. It answers these 2 prompts or 2 questions about why you want to be a volunteer and how you're going to overcome challenges. So I also have some documents and information to help as you're beginning your motivation statement, but this is really going to be very unique and personal to you. So I'm happy to go over it for you and proofread as an extra set of eyes. But most of the time, these are very unique to the individual. You will also get a chance in your application to list your preferences in terms of region and sector. And at the very beginning of this, I mentioned having a little bit of flexibility, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So you have two main ways to apply. The first is to serve where you're needed most, and that's applying without a sector preference and without a region preference. That's like telling Peace Corps, I am completely flexible to go anywhere and do anything that you think I am most fit and most capable of doing. But then you can also apply to a specific position, and neither way is right or wrong. It's all a matter of personal preference. But if you do apply to a specific position, and for whatever reason you are not the most competitive candidate for that position, you can list if you'd be willing to be considered for other positions. So if you do choose to apply that second way, I highly recommend checking off some of the region and sector preferences so that you can be considered for a wider variety of positions. You'll also be required references with the Peace Corps application, but it is pretty simple for your references. They don't have to draft a whole long letter. They're just sent a form through Peace Corps. So we love to make it really simple for them as well. And then, like I said, you have a health history form, which is just self-submitted, so you fill it out. It should not take more than an hour or so, but it is important to be honest on it because this is how we determine what countries can medically support your needs, so that by the time that you get to the interview and get your invitation, we know that all of your medical and health needs will be supported in the place that you are set to depart for. So then you receive a couple of emails just letting you know that your application is under consideration and a list of countries that you may be considered for based on your medical needs. Throughout this process, Peace Corps will also be updating you about any changes to your departure date or anything pandemic related. So that is something that's new this year. Typically, we don't have to change departure dates that much, but right now you'll see that all of our applications have a more general range rather than a very specific date. So during this period, you'll also be receiving those updates all the way up until you receive your interview invitation. Then you complete your interview online. It's all done virtually. And then after that, you will receive your invitation, which you can accept online within 72 hours. And then comes the really fun part of hopefully talking to your family and friends about the next adventure that you're going to be taking with Peace Corps. This is something that my family and friends were not completely supportive of, to be honest. So my parents were definitely nervous about Peace Corps. There were lots of questions that they have. So we actually have events that are specifically tailored to parents, family, friends, people that maybe aren't 100% on board with your decision. So start talking to them early, but also if you don't want to have all of those conversations on your own, feel free to just send them the link to an event. We're hosting one coming up in just a few weeks. So that would be a really great opportunity to start those conversations with the people you care about. Now, the last steps of your entire Peace Corps application are going to be in the onboarding process. So that's where you go through your medical clearance and your legal clearance, background check, fingerprints, and some doctor's appointments, which we actually just raised the refund budget for. So there is an up-to-date medical information and refund budget for every single volunteer. So you can find that all under our medical portal online. And then you'll have some other paperwork to fill out. You'll get your official no-fee Peace Corps passport, and then you will be ready to go and depart for your Peace Corps service. So before I jump on over to the website, I do want to leave my contact information up for just a second. This is my email address, my phone number. Feel free to send me an email or give me a call at any time. And I also really encourage you to follow Peace Corps on social media. We have a couple of different Instagram and Facebook accounts, and that's really where we promote all of our virtual events. We're having tons of virtual events right now, and maybe the one benefit of the pandemic is that everything is virtual, so you can attend from anywhere in the country. It's all recorded, so you can have it sent to you if you can't make it at the live time. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment and I'm going to jump over to our website. And if anyone has any questions while I'm doing this, please feel free to take yourself off of mute or drop it in the chat box if you're more comfortable. So this is our website. There is a ton of really great information on here. You can browse through it at your own convenience. Right now, I want to show you that we do have all of our updated COVID-19 pandemic related information right here. So it's all in one really convenient spot. Anytime there are updates, they will be posted here. If you want to be emailed, you can just send me an email and then I can get you on our list so that you'll be emailed when we also do make those announcements to all of our applicants and interested parties. So here is where you can find all of our current openings. They are updated about every 3 months, so we should be posting new openings in about a month and a half. They do look a little bit differently than they usually do in a regular year, so I'll point out some of those things that you may have noticed if you visited our website in the past. So at the top, we always have the Serve Where You're Needed Most application. This is where you're going to apply if you have complete flexibility. You don't necessarily have a preference of region or of sector. You just want to apply to Peace Corps to serve where you're needed most and where your skills will be a best fit. And underneath, we have all of our sector-specific, region-specific applications. So even at first glance, you can find a lot of information about them. You have the title of the position, the location of it, and when it departs. So you'll see here, this is a big difference from how our website usually looks. Right now, it says departs no earlier than 2022. So early 2022 means January, February, March, April. So you won't be departing in 2021, not in December, not before that January to April of 2022. Usually it would say something like departs March 5th. And you would know that that's the exact date that you're set to depart. But right now it is a little bit more vague just because of the pandemic. So if you click on any of these applications, you'll be able to see a lot more detailed information about the project itself, about the history of it, about the place that it is set to depart to, about what you may be doing as a volunteer there. So this is one of our public health positions, and it has an education element. So you can find lots and lots of information, as well as some COVID-19 information. So especially since this is a public health position, there may be some activity with the pandemic, prevention and risk reduction strategies, or education about those things. So the required skills of this position are either a bachelor's of arts or bachelor's of science in any field, or 5 years of professional full-time working experience post-high school. Now, the desired skills, there's a much longer list. So if you meet the basic requirements in that required skill section, the next thing that you're going to do is look at how you can meet the desired skills, because those are going to make you the most competitive candidate that you can be for this position. So let's say you're interested in this position. A really great way to bump up your resume and to get some experience would be to find health work within the Chicagoland area. So if you know of a clinic or a hospital that is accepting volunteers, doing that sort of work would really be a great way to become a more qualified candidate for this position. Now for this, there are no language requirements. So if you do not have a language, or if you're looking to learn a new language, this could be a really great position to apply for. Now, you'll also have all of this information, the most important information up here. Some of our positions do accept couples, married, unmarried, same-sex couples. Others do not. So if you are intending on applying as part of a couple, that's a really important piece of information. Once you've looked through everything on here, you are sure that this is the position for you, you're going to apply. And that's when you'll be prompted to input your information online, to begin that 45-minute application, and to upload your resume and your motivation statement. Now, there's lots of other information on our website that I want to highlight because it's not just about applying. You also want to make sure that Peace Corps is right for you. So I always love to start with stories because we have hundreds, thousands of stories on here written by returned Peace Corps volunteers. Some of them are in a blog format, others are vlogs, we have packing lists, we have all sorts of information, and you can sort by country, you can type in a keyword, you can search by sector. There's really so much information, and this will give you a little glimpse of what Peace Corps life is like for different volunteers all over the world. And then I mentioned events, so I want to take you to where you can actually find these events. So right now we have events going on all over the country, but they're actually all happening virtually. So it doesn't matter if you click online or not, they're all going to be happening on a virtual platform. Some of them are career fairs at specific universities, but then we have others that are open to everyone. So we have office hours. We've had a lot of really great series. Like right now, we have a Women in STEM series going on. So if you're interested in pursuing a career in STEM after Peace Corps, that could be a really great opportunity to hear a little bit more about some of those opportunities. But lastly, I do want to say that, I can talk a lot about Ukraine and education because that was my experience, but I completely understand if you're not interested in Ukraine or education and you want to hear someone else's perspective. I would be more than happy to connect you with another recruiter or returned Peace Corps volunteer that can really speak to what you're trying to do in Peace Corps. So whether that's agriculture in South America or something completely different, I would be happy to make those connections so that you can get that firsthand information that you're specifically looking for. So I know I just threw a lot of information at you. That's probably a lot to digest right now, but if you do have any questions, I would be happy to answer them for you. If you think of questions later on, that's totally okay too. You have my email address and my phone number, so you can absolutely ask those a little bit later.
Looks like we had a question in the chat. They said they're married with a 1-year-old. Does the Peace Corps allow a volunteer to bring their family to an assigned country, or is it preferred the volunteer go alone?
So unfortunately, Peace Corps can't support children or dependents. For married couples, married couples are accepted at many of our posts, married, unmarried couples alike. So it would be possible to do Peace Corps with a spouse or a partner, but unfortunately, we can't support or pay for dependents.
All right, I joined a little bit later. I had a meeting that ran a little late. Would you be able to share your presentation with us just so I can look over it a little bit?
Yeah, I can definitely share the presentation. I have like some photos of Ukraine and just some like general Peace Corps information as well.
Awesome, thank you.
And just a reminder, this recording will also be shared. So we'll send the recording of her going through it. And then it sounds like she can also send over the PowerPoint itself, and I can include that as well. Looks like we have another question in the chat. Can you briefly talk about the age range of volunteers?
Yeah, so in my experience in my cohort, we had an age range of 20 to 76 and everything in between. So there were volunteers that were coming right out of college or graduate school, volunteers that were making a career transition midway through their career, and volunteers that had been retired and wanted to do Peace Corps later in life. So there is no upper age limit. It's open to everyone over the age of 18. And in many volunteers, there is a pretty large age range with folks falling all in between.
Awesome, good to know. Any other questions for Megan while she's here? So it sounds like we do have an audience member that is looking to make a career pivot after maybe retiring or changing jobs. Could you maybe just speak a little bit more about what that looks like and maybe some success stories or whatever it is?
Yeah, so there are lots of career benefits after Peace Corps. I'll speak about one that I think I didn't know a lot about, so it was a little bit confusing to me hearing NCE, but what's called non-competitive eligibility is something that many volunteers take advantage of to either kickstart their career or to make a career pivot. It is basically a preferential hiring status for the federal government. So you are able to more easily be hired and more easily be seen by hiring managers. So while it's not a guarantee, it's a foot in the door in a competitive space. And lots of folks take advantage of that, as well as just the experience that you get as a volunteer of maybe project management, problem solving, like in very unique circumstances, learning another language as an adult, which is so valuable, and something that Peace Corps really tries to encourage and continue throughout service. So there are certain things that you can put on your resume that will really make you stand out, as well as just having that non-competitive eligibility and Peace Corps service, which is typically a pretty great thing to talk about in interviews, and you'll be able to definitely use your experience as well, coupled with the experience that you have before Peace Corps.
Awesome. One more question. Is it I think you touched on this a little bit, but is it too early to apply if someone's thinking about doing it maybe 3 years out, given the long application process?
So generally we have our applications posted 12 months before the departure date. So you could look about 12 months in advance and see those live applications. It might be 13 months, it might be 11, but start looking around that time for the application that you actually want to apply for. However, it's never too early to start browsing through the applications that we have right now, because they do change a little bit from year to year, but generally we have some consistencies. Like Ukraine applications for English educators were always released in about October. So from year to year, consistently, that's when those applications would go live. So if you are looking about 3 years out and you have a general idea of what time of year you'd want to be departing, then you could start looking now.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay. Well, it sounds like you gave us some really awesome information. So thank you so much, Megan. Again, just to reiterate, if you guys want this or want to view this afterwards, we're going to share it. We'll send it in an email, so you don't need to send us an email. As long as you registered or as long as you're in this Zoom room, we'll be able to share it with you over email once it gets uploaded. It might take a couple of days just because we have to have our communications team upload it to the website. But thank you so much, Megan. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll really quick. If you guys don't mind taking it, it should come up on your screen really quick. I think maybe 3 questions, and it's anonymous. So that will just help us with future programming and things that we hope to bring you guys. So thank you again, Megan, and I'll share everything out afterwards. So feel free to reach out after the event as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks.